So the title of my presentation tomorrow is Stand for Excellence. So it's more like a command, a directive, or an instruction. Stand for excellence. But my key word there is stand. There are many things that you can stand for, but you have to be standing. Now, standing requires a balance. You cannot stand if you are not balanced. So that balance is brought by many elements in your body, by many elements in your life. So people who stand and be balanced, it is because of certain things that are already in place that causes them to be standing. So if you are not standing, it simply means that you cannot run, you cannot walk, you cannot soar, because you are not standing. So everything begins with standing. When you are seated, you are limited, you are desk bound, you are sedentary. You are only limited to what is in the space where you are seated. But when you are standing, anything can happen. Standing simply means you are open for opportunities, and any opportunity that presents itself, you can be able to go to it because you are already standing. And the scripture principle says, having done all, in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 13, having done all, to stand. In other words, you need to stand your ground. Sometimes the ground you are standing on, it's not your ground, it's someone else's ground. But the command is for you to stand. So whether you are in your ground, which means are you in your favorable circumstances? Now let us look at the auditory system. There is the vestibular system that is inside your ear, which provides balance. If that vestibular system is negatively affected, it's going to affect your balance. So in other words, you cannot stand firm. You cannot be balanced in standing if your vestibular system, your ear inside this ear that we see on the outside, if that is negatively affected, you cannot stand, because it is what communicates with your brain to bring balance to your body. Your head movements are detected by your vestibular system, your inner ear. So that plays a contributing role in making you to stand in balance, to be balanced and not be shaken, not be moved, not fall down, but to stand. Now, what does that mean in our context? It means that whatever you hear through your ears, it's going to affect your balance. So it can either cause imbalance in your life or induce or engender balance in your life. What you hear through your ears can either induce, engender balance or imbalance in your life. There are people today who are unable to progress in their lives, who are unable to be successful in their lives, not because they lack potential, but they have listened to wrong voices. They've listened to wrong words. They've allowed things to enter through their auditory system and affect their vestibular system, which then affects their balance or create imbalance. So excellence that we are talking about tomorrow at the Excellence Award ceremony, excellence is not an event, but excellence is posture. Posture speaks to your standing position, your balance, how you are standing. Before where you are standing, but how you are standing. So there are people who stand and their back, is pushed backwards. That cannot create balance, because you will get tired. And when you get tired, you will need to then come back to the right position. So posture means you must stand upright according to the type of the body that you have. You must be able to stand upright, having done all but to stand, not to talk, but to stand. So life and excellence requires people who can stand firm, be grounded, be established and have solidity, be solidified on the ground you are standing. So when we talk in other contexts about standing your ground, we are talking about firmness. We are talking about being confident. We are talking about consistency. Stand for what you believe in. Stand for what you are making a promise about. Stand for what you are saying. Stand for what you are pursuing. Stand for what you are doing. But in everything that you do, you gotta stand. In other words, you gotta have a position in life. What is your position? Because if you don't have a position, you will be easily distracted. Anybody can take you to their position and you will think that you are standing. And when you are standing on someone else's position, which is not your position, you are not standing. You are as good as a person who is not standing. You've got to stand for excellence. So standing for excellence, it means you are positioned to excel. You are positioned to excel. What does it take to be positioned to excel? It takes balance. In other words, you need to balance your pursuits. You need to balance your staff. Balance through preparation. You got to be prepared. Balance through the mindset to learn, the attitude to learn. So in education space, there's what we call ATP. ATP stands for Annual Teaching Plan, and that is for educators. So every educator must present their annual teaching plan. But here's another dimension to the annual teaching plan. There must be an annual learning plan, which must be for the learners. So a learner who stands in their position is a learner who knows what their learning plan is, so that you don't find yourself blaming the one who's teaching you, but you can take accountability from your standpoint, from your position, where you are standing and how you are standing. So it takes preparation. It takes the mindset to learn. It takes as well the consciousness for excellence, because you can only exude, you can only disseminate what you are conscious about. And what you are conscious about, you don't need much effort for you to disseminate, because it already comes from your intrinsic structure, intrinsic order, intrinsic makeup. Then it comes to the outside. It becomes extrinsic for everybody else to be able to notice. So your vestibular system is very, very, very important in determining and dictating whether you are standing balanced or you are imbalanced. Okay, so we have to establish that. Now the brain gathers information. The brain gathers information between the visual inputs and your vestibular system. The visual input. So what you see, you got to see in order for you to stand. You got to see. So your vision must be clear. You got to be able to see, because if you don't see, for an example, if your eyes are blind, you will not be able to have balance in terms of standing. That is why you will need a stick to help you with balance. If you walk and you are not seeing where you are headed to, then anytime you can be tripped and you can fall. That's why you need that stick for your balance. So first, it's your hearing ability. You need to be able to hear what is right for your system to create that balance. And then secondly, the visual inputs, what you are seeing through your eyes. There must be that coordination between what you are seeing and what you are hearing. All right. Then we've got the body sensation, which is called the proprioceptive system as well. Proprioceptive system, the body sensation, your feelings and your movements, your external movements and your feelings. So from standing, there is There is a structure, a structure. From standing, you can walk, but you cannot walk if you are not standing. So there are doors you need to walk to, but you cannot reach those doors. You cannot reach those opportunities if you are not standing. So it begins with standing, not sitting. If you are in a position of sitting, you are limited because you cannot walk while seated. You got to stand up. And when you are standing, then you've got an opportunity and a chance to walk into opportunities, to walk into open doors, to walk into networks, to walk into connections, to walk into the place of producing excellence. You got to stand. All right. So that proprioceptive system aligns very well with your visual inputs and also with your vestibular system. When this coordinates, then you are almost guaranteed of your success, because your standing will not only be a standing. You can walk after standing. You can run after standing. You can soar after standing. And after soaring, you need to come back to your position. Take your position and stand. When you are standing, you can be able to see far. When you are standing, you can be able to detect the dangers that are around you, because you are not sedentary, you are not desk bound, but you are standing on your feet. So you are ready for anything. Once you pick up and notice a danger, you won't sit down because you are not seated, but you can run. So standing also gives you awareness. It gives you awareness. You are aware of your surroundings. You are aware of your environment. You are aware of where you are headed to. Because as you stand, you can be able to see far. As you stand, you can be able to see far. And people that stand, they are solutions oriented. A standing person is a person who does not uphold problems. It's a person that seeks to provide solutions because they are standing on their feet. So standing on your feet means you must be balanced. If you are going to produce any form of excellence, you're gonna require balance. You remember the equilibrium. Equilibrium, it's about the balance of scale. So what is on the right is in balance with what is on the left. It provides equilibrium. If there is no balance, it means that you are weak. Your weaknesses are more represented, presented, or exuded more than your strengths. And when people can detect your weaknesses, they can abuse you. But there's nobody who is strong that can be abused, because people generally are afraid of strong people. That's why they will create naysaying around your name once they see that you are a strong person. They will create, events that seeks to weaken you when they see that you are a strong person. But there's one thing about people who are strong and people with balance and people who are standing. They are not shaken by naysaying. They are not shaken by gossip around their names. They are not shaken by criticism. They are focused in what they ought to be producing. Yeah, so this is what I'll be dealing with tomorrow. Standing your ground, standing for excellence, standing in resilience. So standing also means that after being beaten down and you are on the ground, you know that being on the ground is not your position. So you cannot be complacent and relax in the position that is not yours. All that you are fighting for is to stand up again and be on your feet. So I challenge you that in whatever circumstance, in whatever situation that you may be going through in your life, do not allow yourself to be beaten to the ground. Do not allow yourself to stay on the ground. Do not allow yourself to sleep on opportunities. Only those who choose to stand up can be able to grab opportunities. But those who sleeping is not comfort if there are no results. Sleeping without results, it's actually perilous for your future, for your progress. You cannot be able to progress when you are sleeping or in a sleeping position. You got to stand up. And guess what, brothers and sisters? Standing up is an effort. That is why it is not done by everybody. So if you just listen to the words that I'm speaking and you take them as just ordinary words, I am waiting for you to take action to stand up from sleeping. Then you will realize how much an effort standing up is. But once you are on your feet, then you can be able to do anything that needs to be done. You can walk, you can run. So any movement that is required, you can be able to produce that movement because you are standing on your feet. Stand for excellence. Don't stand for mediocrity. And standing for excellence means that you have to incur the cost, because excellence is costly. Excellence is not cheap. Excellence requires hard work. Excellence requires determination. Excellence requires you to close your eyes from distractions and open your eyes towards your destination of excellence. So achieving excellence, it's not cheap. It requires hard work. It requires resilience. It requires effort. You must be able to bounce back from your failures. You must be able to bounce back from your limitations, from your lack, from your impediments, from the things that have weakened you in the past. You ought to be able to bounce back. And bouncing back means get back to your feet again. Stand again. When you are standing, you can be able to fight the enemy. When you are standing, your hands can work effectively. When you are standing, your voice can project effectively rather than when you are seated down. So sitting down and lying down and sleeping positions affect a lot of things. They affect your voice projection. They affect the use of your hands. They affect the use of many aspects of your life. So you got to stand to allow a free flow of the many aspects of your life. The use of your hands, the use of your voice projection, the use of your mind, the use of your thinking, the use of every important aspect of your life. But you must stand in resilience. You must stand in courage. You must stand in progress and success. You must stand in excellence. If you are standing for nothing, it means you will fall for everything. If you are standing for nothing, it means you will fall for everything. And falling for everything means you will be a victim of other people's circumstances. You will be a victim of how other people think. You'll be a victim of the trajectories of other people. You will not be a winner from your own space, from your own place of operation and function. You got to stand and be resilient. You got to be able to bounce back from failure, understanding that success, excellence is not an event, but failure is an event. Failure is not a condition. It's what has happened to you, but it's not who you are. So understanding that failure, it's not a condition. You can stand up again. You can stand on your feet. You can pursue that which you were pursuing. You can pursue your dreams. You can pursue your vision. You can pursue your opportunities. And you can be able to procure everything that you were pursuing before, because you are in a good position. You are in a standing position. You are in a posture. So there is a static posture. Static posture is when you are standing in balance and you are not moving. It's a static posture. And there is a dynamic posture. So it has to do with dynamism. A dynamic posture means you are running, you are walking, but still you are controlling the balance of your legs as you are running and as you are walking. So it's a dynamic posture. You are still in balance whilst running. You are still in balance whilst walking. But a static posture, it's when you are standing in one place and in one position. So whether you are standing in one position or you are walking or running, ensure that there is balance. Because standing up, it means you are balanced. When you are not balanced, it simply means that the opinions of other people that may not necessarily stem from the place of your own vision, those opinions will become your truth. And the opinions that become your truth, which are not aligned to the quality and the vision of your vision, then those opinions become the lies in the trajectory of the pursuit of your vision. So you can never achieve your vision walking by lies, running by lies, standing on lies. You need the truth. And the truth of your life, it's your opinion that stems from the quality and the vision of your vision. You got to hear well, you got to hear right, you got to see well, and you got to see right. You got to speak right. You got to create a vocabulary, a language that will ensure that you procure that which you desire to procure. Now, there is also a medulla oblongata. I never studied this in school. It's information that I grab, as I develop myself. But one thing interesting about the medulla oblongata with my presentation of today is that you must have a backbone. You must have a spine in order for you to stand. Without a structure, without a spine, you cannot stand. But remember that your medulla oblongata is the connection between your brain and your spine. Therefore, your brain sends information to your body, especially for, I'll call them impromptu activities of your life, such as sneezing, swallowing, sneezing, swallowing, coughing. These are things that you don't necessarily plan and know how to control them. But it is the information that comes from your medulla oblongata. It is also responsible for the breathing, the oxygen, the level of oxygen. It determines the level of oxygen through the information that it sends through to your spine, your structure, to give you balance and to cause you to stand. If you don't stand and you are not in balance, it means you can be tossed around. You can be blown like a wind. You will go to where the wind is blowing. It means you don't have a backbone. So standing requires that structure. But that structure requires your medulla oblongata to be in function and to be active. People who win in this life are people who stand. And people who stand respect time. I'll tell you why am I saying people who stand respect time. It is because time plays a critical role in how long you stand. If you stand for too long without walking, without moving, then you will start experiencing pain, excruciating pain in your legs, and that will weaken your balance. So you may end up falling from the weakening of the balance or from the pain that you are feeling on your legs. So you need to manage time effectively so that you stand when you are needed to stand. You don't stand unnecessarily, but you stand to achieve a particular goal. You stand, achieve a goal, and then you rest. You go back, you stand, you achieve the goal. You rest, you go back to stand and achieve the goal. But in everything that you do, standing should be your culture. Standing should be your behavioral pattern. When you wake up every morning and every day, wake up with the strength in your legs that will cause you to stand. And when you can stand, you can walk. When you can walk, you can access opportunities. When you can walk, you can access the right people. When you can walk, you can produce the right results. Stand up for excellence. So in the science of standing, which I've already alluded to, we are talking about your vestibular system, okay? The determination of what you hear and how you hear it and how you receive it. and then also the visual inputs that coordinate with what you hear. Now, I want to close it at this, that standing requires you to understand your assignment. Why are you standing where you are standing? And for whom are you standing? And where are you headed to when you start moving? So if you stand in the wrong place, wrong results will creep in. But if you stand in the right place, right results, they begin to creep in. So you must have your attitude to learn, your methodology to learn, so that whoever teaches you, you can learn in your own methodology. And when you learn in your own methodology, you are the one that understands better than the one who is teaching you. So you understand their content better because you are learning it in the way you know how to learn. And when you have learned, you can stand. When you have learned, you can stand. And remember, standing up for whatever you are standing up requires you to be a new version in a new day. So don't come to a new day with the baggage of yesterday. Live a new day with newness. Newness of thought, newness of language, newness of conduct. So that when you are new, you can be able to procure new things, new relations, new productivity, new excellence, because sometimes the old does not work in the new. You cannot seek to pour old wine on old wineskin. Old wine must be poured on new wineskin. So if you are not a new wineskin, you will not be able to receive the quality, the strength, and the sweetness of the wine that is being poured. Life itself is pouring wine onto us on daily basis, and that wine is the opportunities that life is presenting to us. But we have to be new as the opportunities are new for us. If we are not new, but the opportunities are new, we will miss the opportunities because there is no harmony, there is no match, there is no balance, there is no congruence between the opportunities and the version of ourselves. After having done all but to stand.